Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Spanish United Radio. I'm your host, Enrique Sanchez. This evening, we have a very special guest. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, hi, my name is Matthew Beilstein.
Welcome. Thank you for being on the show, Mr. Bilstein.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Likewise, I know that it's been 20, 30 years, and you were one of my favorite teachers growing up. And the topic of today has to do with the impact of teachers on students and how, depending on how they impact them, it could determine if they will graduate from school or not graduate from school. So one of the questions I would like to ask you is what made you become a teacher and how you've been able to implement techniques or methods to encourage students to stay in school, academically to succeed, and move on to college.
Sure. Well, I come from a family of educators. My father was a teacher, um, and so I always thought that eventually I would kind of pursue that. I'd gone in the military and was in the army and had the chance to work with teachers in education when I was in the service, and so it just was a natural. Uh, you know, kind of course for me. Uh, they say that you kind of God has a plan for you, and I guess that's been God's plan for me.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. And I wanted to ask, during your time as teacher, like how do you think you've influenced or impacted the life of your students, in order for them to stay in school and go to college and to not give up on themselves?
Well, obviously, it's the students I've had during the course of my many years in education. That's been the biggest blessing. Just seeing their success, their growth. So I, I've uh, had the chance to just not be a teacher, but I was I am now a counselor, and before that, I was a principal. So um, it's just been a great journey for me, and just being able to, like I say, be blessed with just the interaction I've had with all the students and parents that I've been able to work with and collaborate with.
I remember when I was growing up in high school, as you know, my mother was concerned about my education. That's why I was homeschooled for the period that I was with you. But one thing
Mhm.
that I do remember when I was in high school is that you were one of the very few teachers that saw me as a person, didn't see me as a number. Unfortunately, many teachers don't seem to form relationships with students as far as helping them to feel that they have value. And I've always felt that you're always giving me that value, that you never gave up on me. You're always encouraging me to excel academically, and I think that helped me to finish school because I finished high school when I was almost 17. I was 16 and a half when I finished high school in Yucaipa, and that helped me to go on to college and become the person that I am today. And I felt that it was through your encouragement and the fact that you took the time to listen to me and help me with issue in subjects that I had issues with, like mathematics, etc. That I think that helped me to overcome a lot of the obstacles that I had when I was growing up.
Yeah, well, I think the most successful educators are the ones that understand that, for instance, if they're a math teacher, an English teacher, before they can really begin to help a student grow and develop in that specific subject area or discipline, they really need to reach the heart of the student and, create a relationship and um, a connection to that student
Hmm.
because if they don't do so, then they can be the most knowledgeable person with regard to their subject area, but they're not very likely to be able to get that across to the student. And
Hmm.
there's a famous study. It was called the ACEs study, and it was a study that was done by doctors, a physician, and they looked at uh, their patients, and what they determined was that there were um, a number of what they termed sort of life altering events that happened to all of us, and they gave them ratings. So things like divorce in the household or addiction in the household. And what they found was that these scores um, related directly to the longevity of the person. And they discovered that the only thing that had an impact upon, you know, saving that person's or prolonging that person's longevity after an ACEs score was a connection to like a teacher or an educator
Mhm.
when we're talking about students and children. So educators play a very important role, not just in educating students, but in determining based upon the study whether or not you know their life will be extended you know longer than it should be.
Right.
So I think it goes back to resiliency. That connection helps students develop resiliency over life issues that occur. And so that is something I think that's very important. It's something that I would really try to get across to the teachers that I oversaw and supervised when I was a principal, that you're going to have an impact on the students that you connect with, and it's going to be profound and lifelong if you do it correctly, and
Hmm.
if you're doing it as you should be doing it. So
Yeah,
uh,
because I work a lot with a lot of Hispanic youth, particularly those that are of high school age to, college age. And you probably are aware of it that isn't a good majority of Hispanic students, unfortunately, are not going to finish high school. Many of them drop out, and a lot of it has to do is because in Hispanic culture, education is not emphasized. And one of the things that we do in Spanish United is to encourage and keep Hispanic people, particularly the youth, to stay in school and for those to go into higher learning, because I feel that the only way generational poverty can be eliminated is through education. Because I take the example of the Asian community, particularly the Chinese community that's in the San Gabriel Valley, and all those cities are primarily Asian and they're thriving and prospering. And I would like to see that model implemented in the Hispanic community. I feel that they have a lot of potential to do a lot, but like you said, there needs to be educators, mentors, counselors that are involved with the kids and with the students. Because again, many, because I remember when I was going to high school, not particularly in your school, but when I was going to junior high school, that many of the students didn't feel that their teachers cared about them. It was like 50 students per one teacher. Many of the schools were like old trailers, and it's like there really wasn't much emphasis on trying to get the students to do well. And I feel that like you said, how an educator, a counselor, a mentor to especially to a young mind can impact a lot. And I feel that there needs to be more empathy, particularly towards students that are more high risk than others.
yeah, well, and as you say, the Hispanic population, student wise, is currently probably the biggest population now in California in the school
Hmm.
system.
Hmm.
The school I work at now, that's the majority population. And so it's about, and no matter if they're Hispanic or what the race, but just about instilling within the student that sense of, um, belief, and that sense of the potential, the unrealized potential that they do have. And, they might not be getting that from home. And the thing is that they spend the majority of their of their day in school. So, it's a great opportunity, and it's, I think, part of the calling of an educator to really help develop that within the student, you know.
Ex- Exactly.
So,
And I also feel that in the case of the parents that are involved, I feel that the parents need to work together with the school. Like when I've had many conferences and events, when I have spoken about education, because I'm a big emphasizer on education, is that it is not the parents' job to educate their parents while they're at school, and it's not the educator's job to make sure that the children do their homework when they're at school. So it's like what I've seen in many school boards where nobody wants to take responsibility. You have the school board that wants to put the blame on the parents, or the parents want to put the blame on the school board, and they might be both at fault. But at the same time, I do believe that there has to be an accountability on both sides. Like if one side doesn't do their part in making sure that the student gets educated, it's like how are they expected to do their homework when they get home? It's like, it needs to be a partnership. And I also believe that in the cases where many students, don't have parents that really that care about them doing their homework, etc., there needs to be like more resources into like after school programs like for tutoring, especially for students that are not able to do their homework at home or don't want to do it in many cases. At least they could have a place where to go to after school where they could do it, where it's in a safe, encouraging setting. So that way, they don't miss out on their grades because it's very important that the higher grades you have, the more a likely chance your GPA score will be higher, and you'll be able to get
hmm.
into a higher educational institution.
Yeah, absolutely. And, anything that the schools can do to help connect student to the school, uh, it goes a long way toward helping them realize their success. So, and I think schools have gotten better at providing that after school environment, that safe environment to help promote the additional learning or tutoring that they might need, or promoting the extracurricular activities. I know that now most schools provide an after school dinner program for students so that they can stay after school, have a meal, because a lot of students, their only meal comes from the school setting. So
Mhm.
um, so they're able to have a meal, and they're able to, whether it's go to the library, work on their assignments, or, participate in that extracurricular activity, a sport or a club. Um, there's been a great gains, I think, in the school system with regard to, establishing that and realizing the importance of that. So, it just goes back to what you're saying, that that is one of the I think, important markers in that, partnership for success for the student.
This must be a new development because I remember when I was in the Yucaipa High School and the Yucaipa School District, they didn't have none of those programs or services back then. You were basically like on your own.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I said that things have changed, quite a bit in the years since I've been in the profession of education. Um, in many ways, a lot of the most uh, drastic changes, positive changes occurred during the COVID. The outcome of that was a lot of these things that were put in place because there was a realization that we needed to further support students and families. So programs like the after school nutrition and things like that came into place, and then also transportation. And so, yeah, the schools now, um, I think, are doing a lot to try to meet the needs of students and families with regard to that, and trying to make that school connection. The other thing that's been a huge sort of resource that's been put into schools is the need for social emotional counseling and services and supports for students.
Mhm.
So um, Yeah, it's while we had to go through something that was horrific, uh, we've seen some benefits for students and families as a result of that.
Yeah, I believe that when the pandemic happened, I believe that it caused reforms within institutions that they're not as strong as people thought they were, and the only way they could become straightened is that resources needed to be put in order to make sure that everyone was able to get the proper needs met. Because but prior to the pandemic, like you mentioned. Many places were not getting resources, and I feel that when the pandemic happened, the government understood that, there needs to be more of a social safety net for the people in order for them to be protected.
Right. So, and hopefully we'll continue in that direction, but only time will tell.
Exactly. And I also wanted to ask, now that you said that you were a counselor at the high school, right?
Yes, that's my current position as counselor.
Okay, as counselor, have you been able like to help students that, for example, that have been struggling academically, and what would you say approaches that you have taken to help them stay focused and to succeed? Because I know that there are many students that they feel that they've been told that they're not going to make it in life or make it in school. I think that's the worst form of abuse that one could
Mhm.
say to a student, more than calling them an F word or hitting them.
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
so, like, what methods did you take as a counselor to help your students academically stay on track and to succeed?
Sure. So, it's just making sure that I'm regularly meeting with them to review their plan for graduation and to make sure that they're on what's called A through G, which is meeting the requirements for college. And then if they're not academically helping them take the steps so that they can change that course and get back on track for graduation in college. Um, so that's kind of a broad overall arching kind of thing that I do, but it just goes back to the individual student and you know treating each individual student's needs as they arise. So there are a number of different supports in place. They're called tiered systems of support
Mm,
that are utilized to assist students. So it might be that we need to come together as what's called a student study team, where the
hmm.
parents and the teachers and myself and the administrator coming together to develop a plan on how to help and assist the student. And the plan could include academic strategies to assist the students, like maybe a student needs extended time to complete work or maybe being allowed to take a test in a small setting. Um, so things like that, or maybe it's something that they need to have some, just some counseling and a check-in. And so scheduling those. It could be having them assessed for a specific learning disability or trying to meet a social emotional need that they have. So it's just really, quite broad in what services I can provide and how I can help them. But it's, doing everything I can do to make sure, like I say, that they have that, strong, um, outlook on how they're progressing academically, but also a strong outlook on, how they're emotionally and physically healthy as well.
Exactly. Like a lot of people don't realize that aside from academic health, emotional and physical health are also important. It all goes together,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know.
If a student misses 2 days of school because of an absence, then they fall behind academically, and it's hard for them to get caught back up. So they're at greater risk of failing a class or dropping out. So yeah, we do all we can to promote positive school attendance, and by promoting that, that means really working with the student and the family to meet their needs, whatever, that might be.
Hmm. And I was also going to ask you, as far as I just lost my train of thought. Another thing I was going to ask you, as far as getting students, for example, to exercise more and eat healthy, because that was another struggle that many schools struggle back then, which was education. Like what have you like done to encourage students to live a more healthier, active life in school?
Yeah, so that's just the just promoting them to become involved in sports or activities while they're in school. And then schools now, they don't have like the junk food and things like that um, used to be in the schools. There's no, vending machines or anything like that. So everything that they're getting from, nutrition services, and all of that food, produce, and product is really uh, they try to make it as fresh as possible. Um,
Mhm.
I know the district I work in, there's a partnership where they get local fresh produce that comes in daily to give to the students. So fruits and vegetables, and um, so that's another thing that I think's really kind of changed um, within schools, is just the quality of nutrition that they're giving to students, and making sure that it's fresh and healthy.
Yeah, because I remember when I was growing up, unfortunately, the food that they served in high school was not the best. It was very artificial, processed. They would serve a lot of sodas, a lot of sweets, so that caused a lot of childhood at obesity and also diabetes, as many of them became adults. So
Mhm.
I feel that that was a very good move on the school's part because that was an issue where many students were not getting the best nutritional options while at school.
Yeah, so that's like I said, another thing that's definitely changed, and they have now where all students get a free breakfast, a free lunch, and a free dinner meal. So students are getting 3 meals a day to help with
Wow.
their nutrition. Yeah,
Yeah, because I remember it was just lunch. It was just lunch and breakfast. They didn't serve dinner back then. If you
yeah,
didn't have lunch or breakfast back then, you were out of luck.
yeah, and they even do what's called grab and go. So students can there's dinner that's placed kind of in a to go bag. They can pick it up and take it home, or if they're traveling to a sporting event or to a club, they can take it there. So
Awesome. That's very
yeah,
impressive.
yeah,
Well, anyway, we've come to the end of our time, but I want to tell you, Mr. Beilstein, thank you for being on the show. You've been one of my best guests so far, and I'm so glad I was able to reconnect with you. And for those that are listening on Spanish United Radio, we are on all social media platforms. We are on Spanish United, YouTube, Facebook, X, not known formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, anything that anyone wants to donate to Spanish United, we are a nonprofit organization. Anything that one donates will be used to help someone in the community. And as soon as I finish with this recording, I'll definitely send it to you, and you could share it with, everyone. And again, Mr. Bilstein, thank you so much for being on the show.
yeah. Hey, thank you for reaching out to me. It was so great to reconnect with you, and just so proud of you. And I'm proud of your heart for the service that you have for the community. So keep up everything that you're trying to do, and I wish you all the best, Enrique.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bilstein. Have yourself a good evening.
You too. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.